Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
Let's hang out.
Let's hang out.
And let's talk about what lessons about.
Let's hang out.
And let's listen to two lesbians shout.
Let's hang out.
Let's hang out.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Let's Hang Out, the podcast that just wants to know, what have I gotta do to make you love me?
Nothing,
What do I
Leigh.
gotta do to make you care?
Just be yourself.
I just don't get to open with Elton John enough, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's surprising because we're a gay podcast, but you know,
I know.
not
We
that
should
kind of
really
gay.
make more of an effort. From the West Coast, I'm Leigh Holmes Foster.
From the East Coast, I'm Ellie Brigida. To those of you who have been with us through this whole journey, thank you as always for listening. And if you're a new listener, welcome. We're excited to have you here. Here's what's happening this week.
This week in the Lesdom.
This Week in the Lesdom is a place where we can touch base each episode about things going on with the podcast or otherwise. We have 5 spots left for our Trova trip to Croatia in September. If you want to sign up, you can do that at bit.ly/lesdocroatia.
We also want to remind you, in Season 6, we have started releasing bonus episodes for our Patreon supporters. So if you join our Patreon at any level, you get access to all of those episodes. Our latest one came out on Fire Island. That was our 7th episode so far. We're going to have more coming up. So if you want to join, you can do that at bit.ly/lespatreon.
In a few weeks, Yellow Jackets Season 2 comes out, and we are celebrating with Yellow Jackets premiere trivia. That is March 26th at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us on Zoom, play some trivia, and then we will watch the Season 2 premiere together. We are so excited.
In the Greater Les universe, I know you all saw that video of Jamie Lee Curtis planting a big one on Michelle Yeoh at the SAG Awards.
Amazing.
Jamie Lee.
Did you
is
also
all of
see
us.
that Jamie Lee was like, what? I did that? Like, she's like, I blacked out. She's like, I completely
Listen, many of us in our fever dreams would also make out with Michelle Yeoh. Like, it's a totally understandable
She's
situation.
like, I didn't see it until someone showed it to me. She's like, it didn't happen to me until I saw the video.
Incredible.
Crazy. Love it.
Angela Bassett did the thing. Okay, sorry. I'm here. I'm with us.
Yes. In the Greater Les universe, Zaya Wade walked her first runway show this week. Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union have been so supportive of their beautiful trans daughter. And now Zaya is living her life, being a fucking model because, of course, look at her parents. And I'm just super excited to see what else she does.
And it is far better news than our next bullet point because, listen, I think many of you who listen to the show, you will know we try to keep this a positive, upbeat space, not because we do not care about many of the things going on in the world and in politics and in whatever, but just because we know that this is a place that is a
An escape
sanctuary,
for
an
people,
escape
yes.
for a lot of queer people, and we try to keep it a place that is a safe, happy, positive place to come to. So with that being said, if that is where you would like to remain, please feel free to skip ahead for a minute or so, and it's cool. We will catch you back in the episode. But we also feel like there are certain times where it's just necessary to also maybe speak out. And so with all of the legislation like the drag ban that just went in Tennessee, all of the many pieces of anti-drag, anti-trans, anti-gay legislation, and specifically with a lot of the anti-trans legislation things that are laws being passed designed to make states unsafe for trans kids, to make transition or appropriate medical care impossible for kids or trans people to access in many, many states in the country right now, that it is time for a lot of the queer community, and especially for a lot of the cis members of the community like us, to be vocal and to be clear about the fact that this is not okay, and that we need to step up a little bit and find ways to really help out our trans family out there. So we are aware, if there are things that we know of that people can do to help, we will try to be sharing those resources on our social media channels and things like that as well. But just, we are paying attention. We know we don't always use this as a space to call this kind of stuff out, but we are calling it out because it's not good, and there's a lot of really scary stuff out there right now. So that's all, unless you want to add anything, Ellie.
No, you said it all perfectly. It is scary and horrible, and we are with you. We hope that we can be a space where you feel safe, especially when you have a lot of places that are really going out of their way to make you feel unsafe. So I'm very sorry about that from a human being standpoint. That is what's happening this week. Back to you, Ellie and Leigh.
Thanks, Ellie and Leigh. We are so excited to bring you episode 15 of season 6, Romancing the Stone.
Super excited. And we don't have a guest today. It's just me and Leigh.
It's just us.
Which honestly,
we love when it's
I love
just
when
us,
it's
though.
Just the two of us.
Oh, yeah. Hit me.
We can make it if we try. Just the two of us, you and I. You know what I mean?
Yeah, whatever. Show off.
I'm also like a little bit raspy, so I'm like, oh, yeah.
No, I like it. It was working for me. I was digging it.
It definitely works for that R&B style.
It does. It was
But
good.
today, we are talking about, Leigh came up with this topic earlier today. So walk us through, what are we talking about today, Leigh?
Yes. So here's the thing. So I read this book. I finished it maybe like a couple weeks back. And the book is called Those Who Wait by Haley Cass. And I think a lot of people probably have read it. I mean, I don't know. I'm you know me, I've been making the rounds of like lesbian romance novels, like just can't get enough of them.
Yes.
This one I think is pretty popular, and I wanted to talk about there was one thing about it that like has just been sitting in my mind. And I know you haven't read the book, so I'm just going to give you like a real quick overview of how I think it relates and why I wanted to dig into this topic, right? So you have two women, they meet on a dating app. One of them is like just recently came out and is like, I'm also into women. Like, I don't know how to do this. The other one is not closeted, but she's a politician, right? And so she keeps her
private life
dalliances very private and doesn't date, like doesn't do relationships, right?
Yep.
You can see where this is heading.
Yeah.
Obviously, they do a relationship.
Weird.
But they do a relationship in the way that like the politician is very like, this isn't a relationship. We're just friends with benefits, and it's totally fine until, kind of like things come to a head. And then, I mean, obviously it's a romance novel. Like, it has a happy ending. That's fine. That's not the part I want to talk about. The part I wanted to talk about is that there is this trope, right? Like, and I don't know what to call the trope necessarily, because I don't think Romancing the Stone is the right trope. But this trope of like I can change your mind. Like, I can make you
like
a relationship person.
Yeah, like when, honestly, this is like, okay, this is with everything. But I think this particular topic of like, okay, you start seeing someone and they're like, I don't want a relationship. And they say, I don't want a relationship. I don't want a relationship. And you keep hearing them say that, but like
and
completely ignoring it.
And your brain is like, sure. So a relationship is what you're saying.
You're like, okay, so you don't want to use the word relationship, but we'll do all the activities of a relationship until you decide we are in a relationship.
Yes. Yeah. And I've been thinking about it. It's been mulling, right? Like, it's been mulling in my head, like why I was so stuck on this trope. And the reason that I think I'm so stuck on it, and the reason that I want us to talk about it, is I want to dig into, is this different than the way this trope plays out in straight media, like books, movies, whatever, or not? And if so, how is it different? Because I feel like it is, and I want to talk about it, and I also want to talk about like some of the times where I feel like it is, and some of the times where I'm like, is it actually though here? Like,
you're just
I'm not so
you're just
positive.
saying like in lesbian relationships in general, this trope, or you're saying this particular book that you read, which I haven't read, so I'm not sure.
in media
Okay.
in general. I mean, obviously, I can talk about like some of the things in the book that I think jumped out at me or like are sticking with me, but I feel like there's this trope that is present a lot, that we see in a lot of media, right? And I think we've seen it a lot, especially historically, in straight in straight pairings.
Yeah,
right?
like in so many of our should have been gays, because those girls are gay, where they're like, oh, I want to,
Sure, yeah.
I want to date you, and they're like, I don't want to date you, blah blah blah. But also, I feel like, oh, god damn it, it's tough because I feel like that's like stereotypically like the man in a heterosexual scenario is like, oh, well, like I don't want a relationship, and like the girl's supposed to like keep going on dates with him until he's like, oh, you know what, you're special and you are different. And I thought I didn't want a relationship, but you have convinced me that being in a relationship is worth it for you specifically.
Yes. And here's the thing. I hate that. I hate that trope, right? Like, I don't know why I don't like it, but there are things about it, especially when it's straight couples, that I'm just like, ugh, I don't know. And like, maybe it's just the concept of like, really all that work for a man that I just like can't get behind. I don't know if that's part of it. I think that's who am I kidding? It's definitely part of it. It's definitely part of it.
I mean, it's funny though, because I do feel like this plays out in real life, like in the same way that most media tropes play out in real life.
Yep.
Like,
yep.
And it's funny because it has played out in my own life, which is like when I started dating Jana, I was like, I don't want to be in a relationship. But she was also like, I don't want to be in a relationship. And I think that like is a different vibe too, when you're like,
yes,
both of you are like, actually, we do not want to be in a relationship, but we really enjoy each other's company. And then you're like, okay, how do we navigate this? As opposed to like, but I had situations in the past where it would be like, I don't want to be in a relationship. And like another person kept trying to like get into a relationship with me. But I was like, I told you specifically, I do not want to be in a relationship. And then it always ended in chaos.
Yeah.
Because like the signals, I don't know, like, I also feel like this is like a situation that queer women get into a lot because the lines are super blurry in queer relationships. It is a gross generalization, but it's fucking true. Like, I was like, I don't want a relationship, but like, I want to go on cute little dates. I'm going to take you on a nice picnic on the Charles River.
Oh, yeah.
But like, I don't want to
casual.
But I don't want to date you. But like, I think it's fun to do a cute, fun date. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, okay, like the signals in the wiring get crossed.
Yeah.
Significantly.
Well, and okay, so here's the problem. The problem is that I feel like a lot of times when you do this in a straight story, it's not that, right? It's a little bit more of the like, I don't want to be tied down. I'm a bad boy. I'm a, you know, like a lone wolf. Like no woman can tie me down.
Yes.
And I also feel like so many times in straight examples of this, the ways in which they do get tied down, like, still feel vaguely misogynistic to me. Like,
what do you mean by, like, you're saying, like, because they're like, you made me a better man.
Well,
and so
yes.
like now I'm gonna be with you, or like what do you mean by like the ways that get tied down?
Is that there's some ways a lot of times in which I feel like they can't get away from the like, I still clearly only see women as objects, you know, but you are a special object to me, and I'm like, that doesn't cut it for me, actually. Like, that's not good enough, you know. But it's so hard for them to get away from it because you've created this man who is like, women are just notches on my bedpost and I don't care about any of them. And then I either feel like they get into this like really gross, like, oh, but you're just too sexy for me to resist. Like, your sex appeal is so much that I can't stay away. No other woman could be enough for me after you. And I'm like, ugh, I hate it.
Well, or it leans further into the purity part of it, I feel like.
Yes.
Where they're like, oh, well, you're wife material and all those women I was sleeping with before were not wife material.
Right.
And it's
we're
like
gross used up. Like,
and it's
yeah,
what does wife material even mean?
Right. So here's the thing. I hate that.
Yes.
Right?
I mean, that's
hate
valid.
It. But here's why I think it was sticking with me, right? Is that when you read Those Who Wait, or when we talk about some of the other ones that we're going to talk about, I feel like there's this difference that like plays up exactly what you were talking about, which is that I feel like when you see this trope done in queer settings, more commonly than not, the way the trope plays out is that the character who's like, I'm a lone wolf, I'm not tied down, I don't need a relationship. And then they're like in a relationship and they're like, it's not a relationship. I just enjoy spending all of my time around them and I miss them when they're not here. And I think about them all the time. And I just want to do really cute, sweet things for them because they said this and I know it would make them really happy. And I just want to see them be happy all the time. But like, I'm not dating them. I just want to spend every night cuddling together after we have sex because that way we can wake up together and I love waking up next to them. But like, it's not a relationship. I just saw this book and I thought of them, so I bought it for them. And you're like, okay.
Yes. It's
okay.
like it's like actually like, okay, I'm trying to be independent and not date, but then I'm like falling in love with someone rather than like
I'm falling in love with
rather
someone.
than like
exactly.
I'm trying to be independent and not date because I am a misogynistic pig.
Yes.
And you have turned me not into a misogynistic pig. Thank you.
And so here is where, like, I feel like some of the things that, like, jumped out at me as, like, what are other times that I've seen this play out? And I want to talk about some of them because they're not all the same. And some of them work for me and some of them, therefore, don't, right? And I think the first one I want to talk about is actually, like, it feels to me like this plays right into the, like, Santana Lopez, like, Santana and Brittany's storyline, right? Of, like, I'm not dating you. I don't need to date you. I don't get tied down. Like, I can just fuck whoever I want. And like, this is my life and I can do what I want and I'm not attached. Right. And then it's like, no, actually, I like desperately need you to like function and like survive and like, let's get married. Right.
The usual.
Like that type of thing for me, I'm like, yeah, love it. Eat that shit up. Like, give me all of that. Love it. It's great because it's great, right?
Yes. Well, it's also just like the like, but to be fair, Santana is also a little bit of that vibe.
She is a little,
right. So it is like she doesn't want to be tied down because she wants to sleep with whoever she wants. So like, is that?
But she's also lying to herself, right? Like everybody knows she's lying to herself. She's like desperately in love with Brittany. She's just trying to pretend that she's not.
And then it's like, okay, never mind, I am. Yes.
Right. And like that I can roll with that. That's good for me, right? But then I think about like what the first person who jumped to mind for me when I tried to think about like what are examples of like times where I feel like even as queer women we like still fall into this like vaguely misogynistic layer of this, and that's like, I mean, Shane.
Can we get through any episode talking about archetypes in the queer community without saying the word Shane? No. But
no. Listen, the damage that Shane has done to us as a community is everlasting.
Yes.
It is a gift that keeps on giving. We will never recover. Like, we will never recover from the damage.
I also feel
Shane
like, I don't know,
done.
this is like, Shane is complex, but Shane is also like a character that is written as like sort of a man, but a queer woman, right? In terms of like stereotypes, like in terms of like, okay, Shane is very much like, I sleep with whoever I want to sleep with. And like, I do not do relationships because I don't get emotionally involved and blah, blah, blah. And it's the women who start dating Shane. They are the ones who have to like break through Shane's emotional armor. And,
yes.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's the same.
Okay.
I mean, it's very similar in terms of dynamics.
But here's the thing. And It is, but I also feel like maybe when I say we will never recover from the damage Shane has done to us, maybe what I mean specifically is that, like,
Then Shane and
was
Carmen?
there a greater betrayal than making us believe that Carmen had become that person? Because this is a trope. This is a whole thing, right? That you're like, can they win their heart? And we all watched Shane and Carmen, and we all rooted for them, and it was hot as fuck, and it was
True.
We just wanted to keep watching Carmen. Let's be real with ourselves. And so true. And then to like that last minute, like, just knife to the gut of being like, no, actually you can't change her.
I know.
And you're like, how dare you?
To
like,
be fair,
how
though,
dare you?
maybe it's a good point that you can't change her. Because even in freaking current Generation Q, girl cannot be changed. So, like, I also think the L Word really does polyamory dirty. Does, like, because I'm like, Shane is the perfect
really
character
does. I
to,
know.
like, actually explore ethical non-monogamy in a healthy way. But the only thing that she does
Shane's never done a healthy thing in her life. Listen,
in her entire life, right?
In her whole
and
life.
Like we still have like people being like, oh, well, now it's like, okay, now Tess has changed Shane. And it's like, no, Shane will never. Like, we keep seeing these played out too. It's like, it's hard to differentiate, but I do feel like we have to also pay attention when someone keeps telling you something.
Yeah.
Right?
I
like,
mean,
that's
I
the
agree,
thing.
but but it's so hard to have had that moment of being like, she's gonna get married, and you feel like that's the payoff, right? And you feel like it's there, and you think that Carmen's earned it, and then they just rip it away, and they rip it away.
I know, but see, that's the point, is like when you say like Carmen has earned it, like, why should we be watching these scenarios where it has to be a woman who like earns some,
but that's what I'm saying. I
someone
hate
else's
it.
monogamy?
I hate it.
Who has said they don't want
I hate
to do it.
And I also think, here's the thing, you would think that this would be like, oh, it's a cautionary tale. Like, listen, queer women, you can't always change her. But I don't think that's what people learned from that scenario.
They did not take that away from that, no.
No,
They were
I
like,
think people
oh,
watched it and were like,
Carmen's
wow,
not the right
Carmen wasn't
person.
enough.
Yes.
But I could be
Yes.
the right person. And you're like,
Well,
no.
that's not right.
No, it's not how it happens. Like, it's not it. And I don't know why. Like, there's something about it where, like, there's times where it works, and then there's times where you're just like, no, you have done us a disservice. And, like, to me, Santana works for me. Shane does not, you know? Like, it just doesn't.
For me, Shane doesn't work because, like I said, because Shane never learns. And also, like, they didn't actually, like, I think, not that there's like only a few storylines you can tell, but like the storylines they're telling with Shane are just like continuously toxic. There's no payoff.
I mean,
I guess the toxicity, the toxic storylines is the payoff. But yeah, like, I'm like, there's opportunity here for Shane to just like be like, this is me, and I need to be with someone who's not. Like, Shane is not monogamous, but that's like a whole other thing. But
yeah.
But I think also, like, we tell these stories in using the lens of monogamy as well. So it's like,
yeah,
it's tricky when someone's like, I don't want a relationship, and like really maybe they don't want a monogamous relationship, but then they fall in love with someone, and then they're like, okay.
But the thing is like, there are legitimate reasons, right? So like in that book, having a political career that you don't want to jeopardize, like, that's a legitimate reason, right? I'm also thinking, like, this did bring up vibes of, like, Step Role for me, right? Where, like, April kind of has this thing where she's like, hey, like, I'm cool with, like, whatever it is that we're doing if it's, like, kind of on the DL, but, like, I can't be out in a relationship until I am out of my parents' house. Like, this is not a safe situation for me. It's not, like, because I don't care about you. I just can't do this right now.
That's why
right?
the queer ones are different than the straight ones, right? Because the queer, the reasons are much more
the reasons are so
nuanced,
different. The reasons are so
much
different.
more, like you said, like for safety, or for, like, I don't know, like, it just is so much more, like, rooted in something that's not so like, I'm just a sexist pig. How many times can I say misogynistic or sexist in this episode? But like are not rooted in well, I'm a man and I want to be free. They're like, they're much more nuanced than that. They're like, I'm in love with you, but I'm suppressing my sexuality, or I'm in love with you, but like I can't come out to my family. You know, that old trope. We love that.
We do love that. Well, and so so maybe this is another question. Is like, does this trope, does it teach us the right thing, or is it setting us up?
Well, I guess
for like heartbreak.
I guess
and
it's like, what is it teaching us, right? Like, but I think what it does say the most is like, if you're the right person, you can change anyone. And I think that's a horrible thing for people to learn.
It's such a bad message.
Like,
it's such a bad message. It's also like, so I feel like there's something so bad about making it be about whether like you as a person are enough. Like that's so
well, because it also ties
like
so much
such
into your own self-esteem, right? And then so they're like, if you, I mean, this is just like society in general with dating, but like like if somebody rejects you, if someone does not want to be in a relationship with you, there is something inherently wrong with you because they do not want to be with you. And it's like, there's like, if we take...
Not because they're Shane and they're fucked up in every
has
way
to be something that you're not...
But it's because
like,
of you. It's just that you're not enough.
And to be fair, like, the right person, quote unquote, I feel like that is a valid reason of like, you're not the right person for a relationship with someone. But when it's like, this person who like has repeatedly said, I don't want to be in a relationship, and then you watch something where like the perfect person for them comes along and changes everything, you want to be that person for somebody else who's like consistently turning you down, which is like just like so rough on your self-esteem. I don't know because it's so hard when I'm like, there are things about this trope that like I will I eat it the fuck up. Like sometimes when you do this trope well, it's so fucking good. It's so fucking good. Right? Like who doesn't love that? Who doesn't love the I'm in love with you, but I'm like trying desperately something
to convince
about
myself
the
that I'm not because
uncontrollable. Like when you feel like, oh, this person is uncontrollably in love with me, right? Or you are like uncontrollably in love with someone else. It's like, there's something that like really
you can't resist.
Ego,
You're
right?
irresistible.
Like, this person cannot stay away from me, right? And there's like something exciting about that. But I think there has to be more nuance to it in real life. I mean, obviously, like in media, like people are going to paint in broad strokes also, right? But like just... listeners out there, if there's someone who you've been chasing for a long time, like maybe it's okay. You don't have to chase them anymore, you know?
Do you feel like there's just a sea of listeners out there who are like Lacey in the early
Not like that. Not like that. But that's pretty funny. No, I even feel like there's like varying degrees of what that is, right? Of like, if your self-esteem does not feel good when you're with someone, I mean, yes, you need to probably work on yourself and your own self-esteem. Like another human being should not affect your self-esteem so much, but maybe that's not a good person to be around.
Yeah. Well, what about this? I do want to talk about some of these other ones that we have down here, but I also want to ask a question first, because given that you have already shared some of the beginning of your relationship, what would you say are the things that you would look for to try to decide, like, are you in a situation that could go the right way, or are you in a situation with like a Shane where you just need to like cut it and run?
I mean, I think it all just comes down to like communication consistently. I don't know. I'm just thinking about like, particularly with me and Jana, it was like when we first started dating, we were like, neither one of us want a relationship. But then like every step of the way, we would just like communicate with each other to be like, okay, like I don't really want a relationship, but I do really enjoy your company, and like, let's see where this goes. Like, and I think like, even if you are in a relationship with someone who's like Shane, or like in a situationship, it just comes down to communication, right? Like if you're if you want a relationship, you need to tell someone you want a relationship. I think the biggest thing is that people don't say that. Do you know what I mean? You won't know what kind of situation you're in unless you are open and honest with yourself and what you want from this.
But it's so common for people to kind of play that, like, I just won't say anything and maybe they'll, like, eventually notice. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I'm just gonna, like, wait around. No, like, more, I don't know if it's, like, a sign, really, but I think it's just, like, a conversation you need to have at a certain point. And, like, I can't really say what that point is. It's gonna be different for everyone, but, like, I think like, if it's, like, been a few months and you're, like, okay, we're seeing each other pretty much every single day, like, have a conversation. I know there's a fear that if you have that conversation, maybe they are going to say, I don't want to have a relationship. But, like, it's better that you know that before you get too deep.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know if there's, like, signs. I can try to come up with signs. But, like, let's say signs are, like, you're constantly together. If you have multiple dates every single week, you can, like, sort of feel it. If they are still, like, if they're saying, oh, I wasn't looking for a relationship, but they're still, like, emotionally available to you when you're together. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like there's, like, someone who's like, I don't want a relationship, and they're, like, completely emotionally unavailable when you're spending time with them. Like, believe that. But if they're, like, very in sync with you emotionally, like, when you are together, I think you can also feel that. You know?
I do. I get that. I'm also curious about, like, something that we haven't talked about at all that I feel like also plays into this is, does this trope do a disservice to the existence of aromantic people?
I mean, what do you mean by that?
Like, what I mean is, because, you know, like, we've talked before about how sometimes there's characters where, like, we as a society, especially in our media, do not consistently historically have a tendency to grapple with, like, people who fall outside of the expected norms of, like,
monogamy.
Yeah, like, yes, like monogamous, like, cishet relationships,
like,
right?
Yeah, centering around romance
yes.
and the one.
So I feel like it's also interesting to me that, like, even when you have these, like, this archetype that is so common, this archetype of, like, I don't need a relationship, I'm a lone wolf, I don't want to be tied down. And it's, like, it's amazing to me that if you think about these characters, like, name an aromantic character.
That has actively said they're aromantic, right? They're none.
Right. Like, they almost don't exist. You know? And it's like, I'm just curious. It's interesting to me that it would be such a common archetype that we want to put out there, but that the goal every time is to change them.
Yeah, so you're saying,
that
like,
it's like,
is there a scenario where this character, the core of who they are is aromantic? They are telling you,
aromantic.
I do not want a relationship. I'm aromantic.
Like, I'm not interested in dating. I'm not interested in a relationship. That's not what I'm here for. That's not what I want. And I just think it's fascinating that we see this so many times. Like, this plays out over and over and over again. And, like, do I think every single time that it needs to be that the end result is actually realizing, like, hey, actually, I'm really not into this. Like I told you that, you know. But it just I feel like it creates this expectation of, like, they'll always change. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. And as we head into Thanksgiving time, I want to start by thanking my wife, Kelsey, who has not only listened to just about every episode of this podcast for 8 seasons now, but who also is the only reason I'm able to make time to record it every week. She takes the kids, gets them dinner, and gets them ready for bed just so that Ellie and I can come on and yell about gay things into each other's faces for an hour. So here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people you're grateful for in your life, including yourself. I've been in therapy for a long time now, and one thing that's so important about therapy is how it teaches you to be more intentional. And being intentional about gratitude and how to show that to the people you appreciate is just one of the many benefits that I've gotten from therapy over the years. If you've been thinking of starting therapy, consider giving BetterHelp a try. I know how hard it can be to find time for regular therapy, and BetterHelp is designed to be flexible and convenient for your schedule. You can fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. If you want to start being more intentional about gratitude in your life, visit betterhelp.com/letshangout today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LesHangOut.
Let's hang out.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help you find options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states. For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, and when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm. For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify, and when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
Like, they'll always actually deep down want a relationship. Like, everyone deep down wants a relationship. And you're like, okay, but also some people
really don't.
Maybe
well,
don't.
That's my point, like, from the beginning. It's like, just stop trying to think you're going to change people. But also, I think 500 Days of Summer is a really great example of this, but, like, also annoying because she basically is like, I do not want to date. Like, the entire time, she's like, I don't want to date you. And he just keeps being like, but she's going to change, blah, blah, blah. And then they break up. And the frustrating thing about it is they flipped it on its head, like, oh, not with him.
It's the girl, yeah.
But they talk later in the movie and she's like, oh yeah, I did find someone, like, they're the right person for me. Whereas like, I feel like I wish they had left it just like, listen to what this woman is saying. She doesn't want to date.
Well, that's something else that we haven't talked about too, because we've been focusing on this primarily from the, like, the man doesn't want to date and he's, you know, just racking up his conquests and whatever. The opposite end of this, on the straight side, also, when you do the, like, I'm in love with this woman and she doesn't want to date me and I'm going to win her over, almost always, I hate it. It's gross.
It's because of the dynamics between men and women, because it's like, she said no and you continue to pursue her, that is a non-consensual pursuit.
Yes.
And it's
so gross.
So
it's so gross
skeevy,
every time. It's, you know what the worst thing about it is to me is like that specific setup. I have such a hard time watching so many movies from like the 80s era. Like this happens all the time. This is so common in 80s movies to have the guy be like, to have this sort of antagonistic romantic relationship, right? Where it's like, it's a will they, won't they, but like they hate each other. And it's always like, I'm gonna wear her down with persistence. And you're like, ugh. And they never make any reason, like there's never anything that changes on the guy's side to like make this woman suddenly be in love with her. It's just like, you'll make her hate her so much that she loves you. And I'm like, that is so gross. I hate it so much. And it
so
happens
often.
So often.
It is also
in
like,
those movies.
like 10 Things I Hate About You, or like she's like literally like, stay away from me, stop stalking me. And then eventually he's like, I stalked you enough that you're going to go on a date with me. Like, that is messed up.
Yeah. I stalked you to love. That's what it is. And it's like, oh, it's so gross. It's so gross. Yeah, we haven't even touched on that one yet. It's like, oh God. I don't know why it's so common, because it
It's like
just skeeves me out.
It's like
every time.
I think it's like the dynamic that they like had men and women in for so long of like the pursued and the pursuer. But it's like, it's not romantic.
Yeah. It's not. And it's like, it kind of, I feel like When Harry Met Sally kind of falls into that camp for me too, you know, where it's like you watch it and you're like, is this romantic actually? Like, is it though?
It's like we hate each other and
like,
then somehow we fall in love with each other, but like not the enemies to lovers we like.
No, not at all.
No.
Because I'm like,
No.
listen, you know me in a good enemies to lovers. Like, I am here for that shit. But for some reason, the way that it's done so commonly of just like, yeah, I will wear you down to loving me by repeatedly making you hate me is just like, because like, let's talk about a good enemies to lovers for like Cachadora to me is a good enemies to lovers example of this, where you have a similar thing, right? Like Catra not out looking for a relationship through most of the series, right?
True.
And like, sure, we've dug into in our episode, our allosexuals on She-Ra, like we've dug into some of the toxic things about this relationship, absolutely. But I still feel like at the end, like what you end up with is a scenario where Catra's like, actually, I was just pushing away something that like I really desperately wanted this whole time. And like, it's not a secret, right?
Oh yes, not at all. We knew it.
And it's not like Adora wears her down by being like,
Adora's not pursuing that at all. Adora's like,
right.
It's like, I realized this about myself through my own self-discovery, not you bugging the shit out of me until I said yes.
I just have never I've watched so many movies where like the sudden change of like, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I must kiss you. And you're like, but why?
It really,
like, but why though? Like nothing
confusing.
Changed.
It is quite confusing.
Nothing changed at all.
Yeah, this man is exactly the same as he was in the beginning. And yet you have given in. Like it sends a really bad message about consent, let's be real.
Yeah.
Really bad.
It's really bad. I'm trying to think if there's a straight example of this that like I can get behind.
So I was thinking about this. You know, like The Notebook is sort of like this. And I'm like, but I love the Notebook.
You do love the Notebook, don't you?
But like he's like, go on a date with me. Like, date me. And then he's like, he literally like is hanging off of the freaking, he's like about to harm himself if she doesn't go on a date with him and she agrees. Like, that's like I am going to make you date me. And then they're like, this is the ultimate love story of our time. There's a lot about the Notebook that's so toxic, and I eat it up. We fight, we fight, and we fight, and then we kiss and we make up in the rain.
It's better. I mean, I will say it's better than like a lot of the things that we've been discussing.
Well, yes,
right?
because it is like, it's a little bit also of like a class story too, where it's like, she's not going on a date with him because he's poor, not necessarily because she doesn't want it. Like, you can see that like she wants to date him.
Yeah.
But still, it's like, oh, okay, this is, a little.
I'm trying to think. Here's what I think I would say, because it's one of the few straight rom-coms that I actually still just like unironically love. Have you ever seen Just Like Heaven?
Yes, I actually rewatched it like a few weeks ago.
Did you?
It's
with
so
Mark
beautiful.
Ruffalo?
Love it.
Yeah, it's Reese Witherspoon, Mark Ruffalo. I fucking love that movie.
It's
fucking
so
love
sweet.
it.
Yeah, it's so cute.
It's so funny. It's so good. And I feel like for me, it works because it's in the similar thing, right? It's like, it's not that, like, he doesn't want a relationship. Well, A, because she's dead, and like a ghost, but whatever. But
that whole thing.
That whole thing. But also, like, primarily, he doesn't want a relationship because his wife died and he is, like, traumatized and hurt.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, and I feel like I can get behind that, right? And it's not like they go into it where she's like, I'm gonna win him over. It's just like they happen to fall in love over the course of the events of figuring out why she's a ghost.
Over the course of, like,
right?
a week.
Yeah. Well, sure.
Rom-com
But listen, like, I now I want to rewatch. I haven't rewatched
it. It was really cute.
A long time. What a great fucking movie.
Mm-hmm.
I love that movie. That works for me, right? Like, that falls into a lot of the same things where it's like they're not trying to force each other on the other person. He's just like, I made you a garden because you wanted it. Like,
I know.
And you're like, right? I fucking love it. I mean, just feed me that shit all day long. Like, I'm here for it. I can vibe on that. The like, it's like the unexpected romance of it. Yeah.
Not the like, I'm aggressively pursuing you as you've told me not to.
Right.
It's like, oh, I met this person and I was not looking for a relationship and I was not anticipating that this would be the thing that happened, but then I fell in love.
Yeah. But then I fell in love, right? Or it's not also the, like, what we've talked about so far, which is like I'll be sexual enough that, like, you can't resist the allure of my sensuality. And, like, yeah, I don't know. I just, like, none of those work for me. Like, it's not...
Agreed.
It doesn't do it for me.
What a trope.
It's, right? It's something. It's something. Like,
I mean, there's just so much nuance of it. I think also, just like, Leigh, at some point we really need to have an episode about monogamy. I mean, I guess we I
feel like you and I are the wrong people to have that episode,
I'm saying we
Ellie.
need to have a guest on who can talk to us about things.
Okay.
But like, because I just feel like there's so much of our media that's told through that lens.
Mm-hmm.
And like, toxic monogamy.
Yeah.
Whereas like,
and it's just, again, it's like I was thinking about it because like I have a friend who I think is sort of coming to terms with like an ace identity right now. And I was like, I want to point her towards like media representation of like what would help you like, understand that way that I think you and I both always are like, it's so much easier sometimes to like understand when you can see yourself reflected back to yourself. And I was like, oh, fuck, like, is there? Oh, there's not a lot out there, I'm like, when you look for Arrow Ace, like real representation, I'm like, there's Biffle and then what else?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's like not much out there. And so I feel like I've had this trope in my mind for a while. And then I was like, wow, this trope must suck for like Arrow people who are just like, wow, actually maybe they just don't want a fucking date.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Don't want that. And then also I was like, and why is it that if I try to think about how common this trope is in the like, he's just a roguish rake who can't be tied down. Like, why do I fucking hate that? But you make it queer and I'm like, yeah, give me more. Like, love it so much. I don't know. I just wanted to dig in. That's
so
all.
You like Miley Cyrus can't be tamed, but not a man.
I just think, listen, like, let's be real. I have been on enough of my like Leah and Fatten fanfic bullshit that it's like that's like their whole thing, right? Like that's their whole trope. Is like Fatten's a party girl and she just wants to go out and get laid and like, but then they start hooking up and she's like totally in love, but she wants to fight. Like it's the same shit.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same trope, and I'm like, eat that shit with a spoon. Give it to me. Just give me more.
Feed it.
Yeah,
feed
like.
it. Yep.
Yes, exactly. I'm like, just inject it straight into my veins. I'm happy, you know? But for some reason, a lot of times there's like straight pairings almost never works for me. And there are like, and then there are the shames.
You're gay, Leigh. It's because you're gay.
Well, listen, you're not wrong.
I know.
Like, you're not wrong, okay? But there are some
There are
times that it
definitely
works for me.
differences.
And there are queer times where I'm like, how dare you, Shane? You had Carmen, you monster, you know? So
We will never recover.
we will
Never
never
recover.
I will never recover.
Yes.
Listen.
But I mean, I think anything else we want to talk about with this trope before we go to our Q and Gay?
I don't know. I'm sure it will come up again now that we've like now that we've
really
dug in.
Yeah, really gotten into the nitty gritty of this. Listeners, if you have any other examples, send them our way. I know there's a million. If you have any thoughts on it, shoot us an email. We love hearing about it. We've gotten a lot of messages about our Dykes and Shining Armor lately, so keep those coming.
Please send us if you're like, oh my god, this for me. Like, send us that because I fucking love that. That's what we need.
All right, it is time for our Q and Gay. Let's do it.
Q and gay.
Question number 1: have you ever tried to win someone into a relationship with you? Yes or no?
I mean, win someone. I'm gonna say
okay,
no.
so I'm like, this sounds like a yes.
No. Okay, here's the thing. I did have to like gently explain to Kelsey that we were already dating. Like, I don't know where that falls. Where does that land me on this scale? Because we were dating. She was just like not willing to like say that in so many words.
I think there's always there's always a point in a relationship where you have to have a conversation of, are we dating? I don't think
it literally was less of that conversation. The conversation was like, you do know we are dating, right?
I think that's fine.
You are aware that like we are dating.
Yes. But I think that's different.
But I wouldn't say she was like a lone wolf who like didn't want a relationship at the time. She was just, still sort of a baby gay and coming to terms with the whole situation. Yeah.
Understandable.
I'm going to say no. I still think that's a no.
I think that's a no.
Okay. Question 2, Ellie. Who's your favorite lone wolf who doesn't want to date? Out of A, Santana, B, Shane, C, Charlotte Thompson, or D, April?
Is Charlotte Thompson from that book you read?
It's from the
I was
book,
like, who's Charlotte Thompson?
I have a theory people might want to vote for Charlotte.
I'm going to go with Santana because I love that girl.
I do too, you know?
Santana. All right, question number 3. What straight example of this trope works for you? A, 10 Things I Hate About You. B, 500 Days of Summer. C, Just Like Heaven. Or D, When Harry Met Sally.
Listen, it's just like heaven for me.
Oh, yes.
I gotta go with it.
Oh, yes.
Okay, question 4. Who would you be, Ellie? The lone wolf or the wooer doing the wooing?
That's a really hard question. I do feel like I'm a little bit of both. It depends on the scenario, I guess. But I would lean more towards the wooer.
Really? I was so going to say
lone wolf.
Who did not want a relationship.
I don't, but I also am just like a hopeless romantic. You know what I mean? So I'm like, it's a difficult contradiction where I'm like, I don't want a relationship, but I like doing cute things for girls. You know what I mean?
That's so true.
Where I'm just like, no,
we're big softies.
Yeah, like I'm like, I don't really want a
relationship.
relationship, really, because I just want to like go on multiple cute dates. So like, I'm definitely like in a situation where like there is dating happening, I'm the person who's like planning a cute date, not like being taken out on a date. If that makes sense. So that's why I said wooer. All right, question number 5. Does the winning over the person who doesn't want a relationship trope work for you? A, yes, B, no, or C, only when they're gay?
I mean, I guess it's only when they're gay. I think that's the reality of it. I'm just not into the straight tropes. Let's be real.
That's understandable. I mean, that's
Who wants to watch straight people fall in love,
We don't.
honestly? so silly.
So
Who
silly.
would do that?
Remember, you can also give us your own answers to this episode's Q&A questions on our Twitter at Let's Hang Out Pod.
Let me hear you say hip, 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 well, yeah.
We love hearing from all of you. We love continuing to build this community, and we just like to shout out some of our favorite things every episode. And this week, we especially want to shout out a listener who wrote us an email. You know how we've been saying we love getting these just really long, touching emails. So we want to shout out our listener, Antara. I hope we're pronouncing your name right. If we're not, please send us an email and let us know how to say your name. But we just wanted to thank you for this really lovely email. People, please stop apologizing for sending us these. They're like the best.
I agree. Keep sending those emails. We love to hear it. Also, very specifically, I personally loved that you recommended We Are Lady Parts. I have seen it. I
haven't, but I am
obsessed
going
with
to.
it. Leigh has not seen it.
Yes.
I feel like it was out a few years ago, so I feel like I told you to watch it, but it was like, I tell you to watch a million things.
Listen, also a few years ago was like the height of like baby life in our household. So like,
but it's on Peacock. It's
Okay.
basically it's about an all women's Muslim punk band.
Sold. I'm in.
One of the members is canonically queer. The rest of the members, they're in an all women's punk band. So like, even if they're not canonically queer, like you're a little queer. And it's awesome. They fucking rock. So
incredible.
Great suggestion. I just want to let you know I have seen it and I do love it too.
And I'm going to check it out. And thank you for emailing us. We loved it. We love getting to hear this stuff.
Also on our Instagram, I also want to shout out jamie.rose.z, who we posted something about brunettes and blondes. And they said, what about us gingers? And I agree. What about us gingers, Leigh?
How reductive of us.
So rude. But I'm like, yes, here for the gingers. Also here for Leigh's ridiculous commentary on her Instagram. What did you say? Gingers are the fiery hot Cheetos of women?
Of women flavors, yeah.
Perfect.
When you need a little spice.
Yeah.
When you need a little spicy woman. That's all.
Go for that ginger. We are spicy.
Listen, no one should leave me in charge of our social media.
Yes.
Anyways, we would also, as always, like to thank our Lesbian Jesus patrons, Mark Foster,
Tanya Ferguson,
Sarah and Julia,
Alana Rosen,
Lizette Stye,
Adi Benitez,
Fiona W.,
and Sophia Phillips.
And our King Princess patrons, Amy and Ellen,
Leah Henley,
Andrea Doucette,
and Julia Gonzalez. Thank you all so much for your support. We truly could not continue to make the show without you.
Remember, you can also find us on all of the social medias. We are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok at Let's Hang Out Pod.
You can email us at letshangoutpod@gmail.com.
You can check out our website at letshangoutpod.com.
Whatever app you use for podcasts, make sure you subscribe so you'll be the first to know when new episodes drop.
We also are posting videos on our YouTube channel. You can subscribe at youtube.com/letshangoutpod to catch them.
Let's Hang Out is an independently produced show hosted by us with audio production by me. Our production assistant is Kristen Mirison, and Twitter shenanigans and ridiculous Instagram comments by Leigh Holmes Foster.
If you'd like to help support the podcast, the first thing you can do, it's easy, it's free. You can leave us a rating and a review wherever you listen to podcasts. It helps new people find the show.
If you want to support us on Patreon, you can do that at bit.ly/lespatreon. We have all kinds of bonus episodes. We have 7 right now so far. You can get ad-free episodes. You get access to our Les Essentials watch parties. We have one coming up for Summerland, which we will let you know about. And you can join at bit.ly/lespatreon.
If you want to get some Les Hangout merch, we have all of our designs you can get on all sorts of things like t-shirts and tank tops and sweatshirts and tote bags and all sorts of good stuff. You can find all of our designs on our TeePublic at bit.ly/lesshop.
And remember, we have a queer production company making queer podcast musicals with guaranteed happy endings. You can find everywhere at $beanprod.
You can also check out our website at dollarbeanproductions.com.
You can listen to all episodes of our first show, The Flame, on any podcasting app.
And if you want to help support us in making more musicals like our next show, Journey to the Heart, which we are well into recording sessions and production on, you can get some updates on some of the stuff we've been working on. You can join our Patreon at bit.ly/$beanpatreon.
If you want to follow us individually, you can follow me at Ellie Brigida on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok.
And you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Ellis Foster.
With that, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Leigh. And let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all. I'm JJ.
Hey, guys. It's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests who share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to like speak of them or talk about them or in any way like portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. Like, it would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out Real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.